So, my name's Kat. I am with Agency Zoom, excited to bring our first podcast. The rules still apply. And my very first guest, a close professional friend, real life badass, Lauren Bailey. Lauren has consulted and come in and been a sales coach, business coach, just overall phenomenal mentor and leader to people from Verizon, ZipRecruiter, Staples. Lauren, where else have you gone? Because I don't want to say a woman gets around, but if there's someone who is really awesome, it is you.
Hey, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that. I have to borrow it and use it from here on out. I've been in the inside sales, virtual selling industry for 20 plus years. Factory has been around for 12. Girls Club's been around for 2. So yeah, we do. We get around. Absolutely. If they have virtual sellers, we've probably worked with them.
Absolutely. And you guys have perfected the art of how to work with people at different scales. Because I know even in some of the insurtechs that I've worked with over the years, you've come in, provided coaching. You guys have won an award not once, twice, 6 times
It's our
nationally?
6th year in a row. Yeah.
Yeah.
The American Association of Inside Sales Professionals, which is just an awesome group for anybody who's got virtual sellers, which in the COVID days is every single seller in the world. Really, really neat organization. And the membership votes on who their top service providers are. So it's a meaningful award for us. We're very grateful.
I love that. I wanted to bring you to insurance and even just this whole podcast and this whole atmosphere, being that the rules still apply. I think we're seeing that the customer experience and expectations are changing. And
Yeah.
now selling has changed, like how we go about doing
Or
it.
has it, right? Like, don't you think it needs to change more to keep up with the customer?
I think we're going to have to. I heard an awesome keynote a year ago about how, the agent up the road isn't your competition. Like the other person that sells insurance, sells paper supplies, that's not your competition. Amazon's your competition. Chick-fil-A is your competition. Like the fact that they say thank you every time has changed what it takes for you and I and anyone to feel connected to someone that really provides a product and a service. So I wanted to bring you in because you're just so exceptional. And I think what you offer is tangible, that there are people that would sit down and look at insurance sales and say, this is too hard, or I don't have the resources to get into it. But with what you teach from an inside sales standpoint, they just need their phone. And let's be honest, we all have one of those.
We have one of those. Yeah. Well, that's the nature of our industry right now. The hiring pool is all but gone, right? 15 years ago, when we used to recruit new sellers, we could say, oh, well, listen, this was the profile, Cat, right? Like college degree, played a competitive sport, 2 years of sales experience. But by the time that happens today, that person's getting out of inside sales. The average lifespan of an entry-level salesperson, that BDR, SDR role that's been specialized in the last few years, is under 2 years now. So, right, we used to be able to look for all of them. We'd have a ton of resumes and we'd weed through them and then we'd throw them in and see who could swim, right?
Yeah.
And they would say, that's how I came up. That's how most sales leaders came up. It's different today. The pool is all but gone. We're lucky that we get somebody who is like, it does a degree optional, right? Any sales experience? Probably not, which means we have to have a really great and robust recruiting and onboarding experience. And once you've got that, when we can teach those basics and build confidence and a love of sales early, boy, you've got them for years, but not many companies have mastered that.
I like that a lot because you bring up something that insurance was probably on the other end of the spectrum when the rest of us in the tech space, where it was like taking candy from a baby, like
Right.
college athlete, like A student, valedictorian.
Pull it out of the stack.
Yeah, you're like, how nice. And we could develop talent and they maybe weren't sticky, but we could do it. Insurance wasn't there. So we didn't have as an industry that same like glory days. We don't have a couple people that even stuck around. And that's been good and bad. So we don't have we're not fat and happy with recruits. We're not coming out and like going.
Nobody is today, right? So you're right. You're like, at least you don't have the, shucks, it used to be.
Yeah. We don't have the like golden days of recruiting because we've been behind for a while. But I think that gives us a chance to look at the industry in a more positive lens of what do we need today? And that's something that I think you've been so great at on different organizations of, a magnitude of scales. How do you find someone right now, whether it's like willingness to sell, grit, perseverance, passion, like how do you find somebody that doesn't have the resume? Because we don't get the resumes even. How do you find somebody that doesn't have the resume?
I think that what more and more organizations have found is that you're looking for the attributes, because we've learned we have to teach the skills. They probably won't have the experience, right? And maybe on the knowledge. We're going to have to fill those gaps ourselves. So what do we have to recruit for are the attributes, right? And in outbound virtual selling, some of my favorites are, number one, a curiosity, right? If you don't have somebody who wants to learn about people's situations and businesses, you're going to get a product pusher, not a sales consultant. It's got to be there. Number two, confidence. Somebody, right? We used to say you could sell ice to Eskimos. It doesn't matter what it's about, but phone sales is a confidence sport. It just is. Which is, by the way, side note, what's wrong with a lot of training programs? We try to fire hose everything into these reps and we scare them, right? It's better to have, they don't know what they don't know, and send them out confident and bring them back to teach them later. Right. Side topic. Anyway, the third thing I love is coachability. It's critical. They're not going to come in ready to go, but if they're not willing to learn it, then you're in trouble. So those are my three most important C's. Then we look for not just personality, but that ability to quickly connect with people, right? Kat, you have that in spades. You probably don't even know you have that in spades, but you find somebody and you make a connection and people remember you. All too often, these young sellers are hiding behind scripts and hiding their personalities. And, we're trying to be these robot business professionals, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. In fact, a recent statistic from HubSpot tells us that less than 3% of folks trust salespeople.
Wow. That's
horrible number.
Yeah.
It's right now. Listen, we're still 1.5 above politicians. So yeah.
Going into an election too. Like we're 1.5 above going into a new election. Like, we might be okay.
Right. So there's you have to have somebody below you, right?
Yeah.
You're not the bottom of the barrel. Anyway, it's difficult. So we have to help them develop as people, these young folks, right? I love Simon. Oh gosh, no, I would just about credit that to Simon Sinek. Who is it that says it? Let your freak flag fly. Right? Like just help them be different. We hire for personality and then we hide it. And that's silly. So looking for that. We're currently hiring somebody right now at Factor 8. And what we've learned is the most critical part of that demo that we do, and I'll tell you some details because it's really helpful thing to do for interviewing, but just the ability to have a business conversation. And there's a lot that goes into that. There's some business acumen, there's some confidence, there's some intelligence and able to pivot, but can you have a conversation with somebody? Start there, and then you can teach them the what's and the products and the hows.
Right. So you said essentially 4 C's, right? Curiosity, you had confidence, coachability, and then connectivity. Like
connectivity. Yeah. Conversationality almost.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ooh, I love it. We did C's all the way around.
Yeah, we made it. How else do you, I guess, maybe it is your interview process. You said you could, felt comfortable sharing a little bit about that. Where do you think the gaps are in most people's interview process? Because we think of insurance and it's a retention game. Sales is so important, but their book of business gets bigger and bigger and bigger over the years. And they spend so much time doing service, and the person gets so attached to the salesperson. So yeah, trust and connectivity or the conversation abilities of that person matter. How do you look at, though, curiosity to keep somebody a hunter, a little hungry, rather than a farmer?
Well, listen, that is an age-old question, and it's some that us in the tech world, we solved for it many different ways over many different years. And the most recent version of that is, the specialization of sales roles, right? So when I came up, it was the same, like go build your book of business, then manage your book of business. But then guess what? They're full. You move from hunting to farming. There's right. No matter how much pressure you put on the folks to still hunt, they're just not going to. Right. decades of experience tells us they're not going to unless they have to. Sales reps are like water. We flow to the path of least resistance. And existing customers, ongoing issues, service, upsells, renewals, they will spend all day there. So the tech industry specialized that. They have pure hunters in the BDR, SDR role, and they have customer success on the back end of the people who maintain, or account managers who maintain
Mm-hmm.
the book of business. And I don't think it's a bad solution. I think we may have over specialized, frankly. I
Mm-hmm.
might turn it into a hunt the business, maintain the business, just 2 roles instead of 17, like we've done in SaaS, right? And in software sales.
Sure.
But I think there's some wisdom to that because they're very different skills. They're very different profiles and mindsets and daily operations and comfort factors. It's difficult to turn a farmer into a hunter.
Right. I think you mentioned something there that's important too, that insurance has started to do. Larger agencies that have the capacity to do it have had account managers, or we call them CSRs, that service a book and are there if you have a claim on your home and stuff like that. And then we have the pure salesperson there. Is there a place of least resistance? Do you start someone as a farmer and turn them into a hunter? Do you let them start as a hunter and become a farmer? Like,
Right?
when you take somebody that you're maybe unsure of, new talent, we're all a little desperate. We may all take a little more of a risk than we would have. Where do you start somebody? Where do you think is safer? Or where do you say, nope, it's not safer, but we win and lose a lot faster here?
Yeah, oh, that's interesting. So in the tech world, that dilemma was inbound versus outbound. And it used to be start them on inbound because it's easier moving to outbound. And then we learned quickly as the customer journey and life cycle changed that that's very stupid because your hottest leads are coming in from inbound.
Yep.
So don't mess it up with a newbie who doesn't know what they're doing,
Mhm.
right? But I think the true wisdom says you build multiple paths and you fit the right personality and profile to those paths, right? I'm a huge fan of testing and profiling when we're hiring somebody. And there are behavior traits and personalities, whatever you use, right? I like predictive index. There's DISC, there's Myers-Briggs, there's a billion of them out there, right?
Mhm.
But there is a proactive profile outbound. There is a reactive profile
Mhm.
inbound, right? There is a competitive profile, sales. There is a service profile, service, right?
Yep.
But I don't want to dodge your question. If I had to make the choice, I think it makes sense to start people on the service side because they're learning the business, getting
Mhm.
comfortable, getting confident, knowing what they're doing. Then we look for the person who wants to take a jump up in pay, in responsibility, in challenge to jump
Right.
into sales, right? I think the tendency is to start them all in sales. And
Mhm.
then frankly, we're burning them out quickly and we may lose people.
That makes
If you
sense.
had to pick
And
one.
we have a lot of startup costs. Not that it's uncommon in other industries, but we have licensure, and that takes a certain amount of time to study for. And a lot of people don't know a lot about insurance. Couldn't certainly sit down and take the test on day one and feel comfortable. So that's absolutely something that, to start somebody in service and to have them learn your business and your customers, to ask for referrals in the future, to get your license going. I think that's a good spot. I think that's a really good call out. What else do you feel like a small business or even a mid-sized business owner forgets about? Because you've been there. You've had Factor 8. You're doing Girls Club now, which is a secondary venture, paralleling Factor 8, but it's something new. What else do you forget about? What else do you get busy with and forget about that's just crucial to sales?
Oh God, yeah. As a small and medium-sized business owner, you don't have an enablement department. You barely have a recruiting department, right? Like I do, I'm in charge of all of those roles. I play all of those roles. I'm taking first calls as we're interviewing people right now.
Mhm.
Um, I think that on the recruiting side, one of the things we forget about is how the person will be working. So, right, the traditional interview is let me go through the resumes, then let me schedule maybe a screening call, and then let's do an interview that used to be face to face, and maybe it's still with video. So, in insurance sales, it's phone based. So, I think that one of the very first things we need to do is a screening call, a
Mhm.
mock sales call. So, this is the tip I was going to share earlier because you're testing for sales skill and fit, and you're also testing for coachability. So
Mhm.
the process at Factory goes like this. We talk to the person up front, and it's a qualify call, right? It's a screening call that basically says, what pay are you looking for? Here's the 10 reasons you don't want the job. Like, let's spend 20 minutes and not waste each other's time.
Mhm.
And I think that's important for new hires in a sales environment. They need to understand this job is making 80 cold calls a day, or this job, right? You can expect to earn this much in insurance. Do you understand that?
Right.
We can automate that. It doesn't have to be a voice to voice every time, right? But let's help them learn the position, because
Right.
let's be honest, they're applying for a billion things, right?
Mhm.
Then what we do, if they get past that qualification screening call, we do a mock sales call. We let them choose what they want to sell, right? They get bonus points if they try to sell our stuff. Then they tell us who we are going to play, right? And our sales coach / VP of operations takes that call. And it's about like 10 minutes, right? You try to sell me something, then we pause, we give coaching feedback,
Right.
then we do it again. So during this, I'm loving watching the kitty cat in the
It's
background. That's so
exciting
fun.
roaming around. It's fine.
What's his name?
Remy. Remy
Remy.
is actually my only coworker at this point. Remy is the co I don't even know what it's called, co-host, I guess.
Yes, I heard chief marketing officer. That's
Yeah, that's Remy.
I have tails sitting around me down below as well. Anyway, here's what you get out of that, right? First and foremost, it's a confidence play.
Mhm.
You also are hearing, how are they doing over the phone?
Mhm.
When we do a face-to-face interview, there's so many different visual cues. And
Mhm.
somebody can present fabulously, but do they give good voice? Because that's what you
Right.
care about in virtual sales, right?
Mhm.
Sorry, sad but true.
Right.
Like me, I've got a face for phone sales. That's what you're looking for. So then what happens is, right, you're testing, oh gosh, this person is getting it done, or they're so nervous they can't speak, or
Mhm.
they're interrupting, or they're mumbling. There's so many things you learn on a phone screen, right?
Right.
But the big aha comes when we coach. More than 50% of applicants will reject themselves right there because, number one, they get defensive. They literally can't take the coaching. Number two, if they listen to the coaching, they can't apply it.
Mhm.
And so we need to be able to learn on the fly in sales, because
Right.
damn it if customers don't go off script. So
Mhm.
we have to be able to take the cues and adjust. And some folks are just too rigid to be able to do that.
I love
So we love doing that as a second step, because they're in or they're out. Plus we have great insight into
it.
what we can expect from them, as you know, the basic building blocks, right? They don't come in knowing how to sell insurance,
No, no.
but are they curious? Did they connect easily? Are they conversational? Are they confident? And were they coachable?
Yeah, I want to give that even as a place that I've made a mistake and showcase that. We've done coffee for culture as like a first interview, obviously
Mhm,
not right now in COVID, but we go through
mhm.
that. We look and we have them talk to another teammate. And
All good
then,
things.
yeah, loved those. And I think they're great ways that if you are a small business owner, you can get other people involved in the process and start to get some of your day back. One of the mistakes we made that you already either have self-corrected or did right from the beginning, neither would surprise me. We
What
asked
was
them
it?
to right away sell our product. We gave them the script that we said like, oh, we'll operate kind of within this. You know, you'll get off script eventually as you grow, but here's a good starting point, and watch a demo and then call me. And there was so much more pressure around that and so much less familiarity. You lost that gregarious nature, the connectivity, the courage in it, because they knew you knew it better. And
Mhm.
quite frankly, in insurance, 9 times out of 10, your customer's not going to know it better. You're going to have
Right.
to figure out how to communicate their lack of knowledge to them in a very kind and compassionate way. So we have since switched to, if a woman loves makeup and she worked at Sephora, I work at a
Do that.
boutique now. Sell me eyeshadow that I should carry in my little boutique. If a guy loved football, tell me why we should buy this helmet, this pads for my like high school football team. Like tell me I'm an athletic director and get me to like put turf on the field, you know? And
Yes,
that
I
has
think it's
been
wise.
so much more helpful.
Good. I love that you've corrected that. Here's where we differ on that, just to get straight to the point. I
Yeah.
hate scripts, right? The problem wasn't your interview process. The problem was the script. The script is it does the same after the interview process,
Mhm.
right? The person who wrote that was likely a sales superstar, with lots of experience and tons of swagger and came in and got it done, Kat.
Gotta go. Gotta
Right?
go.
How many people have you met who can pull off your words and your phrasing and your, like, you're a superstar. And sadly, as we get into leadership, we learn we're not managing superstars, especially when they're brand new.
Right.
So we like instead to say, okay, here's what I did in the script, but instead let's chunk it out and say, here's the goal of this section, right? The goal of this section of the call is rapport building. The goal of this section of the call is qualification. The goal of this section of the call is to understand needs.
Right.
And here are your goals in each section. Don't go to the next or go back if you need to, but you have to accomplish these things in each section. Here's how I said it. Here's how 20 other people said it. Now write your own.
Right.
Because people love the crutch of a script, but I find bullet points work much better because who can be confident reading somebody else's words?
Right. It's just always going to sound unnatural.
It always will. Yeah, it always will. But it's really, really common for small business owners. Like, and that goes back to your original question. What's something we forget? We're not hiring us, right? Small business owners, we're entrepreneurs. We care more than anybody else in the world, right? We connect easily with high-level folks.
Right.
We are passionate. We're going to work harder. Right? My dollars per hour is crap with the amount of money it's like I make it and how hard I work in 2 businesses. But, and that's the thing we do. We forget that. And then the third thing we forget is we forget to train in the basic skills. 9 out of 10 training programs that I've assessed over my years as not just an entrepreneur in the training space, but I used to be a learning and development director for global companies. 9 out of 10 onboarding programs are about product and about systems. And we forget really key basic sales skills, which is what we're doing at Factor 8. The most important is probably business acumen and industry acumen and customer acumen. Getting to know what we do, what the trends are, what people care about, the people we're talking to. Right. Then we also have to cover our processes and how things work internally. And, you know, there's other categories, but typically we're hitting 2 out of the 5 or 6 we really need.
Wow. Wow. Well, I think you've given people a lot to chew on here, Lauren. How do people keep up with you and what you're doing? Like, if there's a woman or a man that are, you know, in a similar position, because I think they're going to approach this in a couple ways. One, being our first episode, I think they're going to be excited to like just soak it all up. But two, they're going to look at you as a business owner and as a coach. So like, they're going to see like, whoa, how would I ever insure someone or get a hold of someone like Lauren? Like, if I pick up the phone and call a tech company and they have this sales process that's up here and this is my sales skills, how does someone break through to you if they're, you know, going to be someone that says like, well, that's the kind of person I want to do business with, is someone who cares this much about their business? Or how even do they begin to identify and continue if they say like, well, I think I've learned enough here, I'm going to keep doing homeowners insurance or, you know, auto insurance and things to that nature. How do they stay in touch and like look at what you're doing and pull this into their process? If you're not their ideal customer yet, how do they receive this information in a way that sticks?
Yeah, no, absolutely. At factor8.com, you can sign up to join. We do newsletters and tips all the time. So we're doing tons of free webinars, free classes. We do mini boot camps where you can get in and do virtual or blended learning. 2 years ago, we put all of our in-person sales skills online in a really fun platform called the Sales Bar. And we have a lot of pun with that, right? There's happy hours and learning shots and silly things like that. But it's there to self-serve for smaller customers. So we're all about helping folks in the industry, tons of free content. So just follow us at factor8.com or find me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, guys, that's Lauren Bailey on LinkedIn. So go check out Lauren. I'm connected to her. So if you're connected to me, you can find Lauren very easily. I share her stuff a good amount. There's so much Lauren has done, B2B, B2C. She has helped other people execute on their B2B strategies and B2C. There's just nothing that you're not going to be able to grasp. And to put it through the lens of how would I get in touch with someone like Lauren is a good way to know if you're at least meeting that threshold. Am I doing all the things I should be doing that if I had to call Lauren, I'm not going to be embarrassed with what I'm doing? So
Listen, I get it. I help Fortune 1000 companies with best practices, but I'm a small business owner and going through it myself and eating my own lunch, right? We're hiring salespeople and we sell sales training for a
right.
living. So we get to test it out, right? We've got our new hire onboarding on point. And if they can't execute it at the end, I have a product problem, right?
Right, right. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for joining me for my first episode. Really appreciate it. You've always been absolutely wonderful and awesome. Just a great resource for anyone in sales, but especially grateful bringing you into the insurance space where we have got a little bit behind, but we're savable still. And we
We're
appreciate you
savable. I
throwing.
love the rules
Thank you
still
for throwing us the life best. Thank you.
I'm so excited for you in this new venture. Congratulations to you. Everybody needs to follow Kat. She's going to be running the world soon. So stay connected and share her podcast with others.
Thanks. Thank you, guys.
See you later.